And I ain't hit no drop in a minute. No, I'm about my business.
Rappers Guide Podcast, episode 28. This is your host, Diggy
Bailz Pagliacci.
And today we wanted to talk about getting an LLC. I think we've mentioned getting an LLC and why it's important in the past, but we wanted to dedicate a full episode to it because it's more important than you actually can imagine.
Yes.
When you're being a musician.
Music business. This is that episode.
So, what is an LLC? So basically, it's establishing yourself as an entity or like an actual business within your state, right? And once you do that, basically, it's meant for taxes. That's really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you do your business under that name from that point forward, but like the benefits all come in taxation. And the problem with a lot of artists out there is that because they're unaware of how simple it is to actually set this up
mm-hmm.
and run your career like a business, they just don't do it because they don't think it's even possible.
Yeah.
You don't have to own like a building to have an LLC.
That should be right in your house.
You don't even really have to, now I'm going to say this loosely, but like you don't even really have to have like a crazy education to get an LLC. It's not something like, oh, I need to know how to run a business before I do that. Now, you should definitely get acquainted with it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you don't have to be fucking Elon Musk to get an LLC.
Because they do everything for you. The internet is your best friend as an independent artist. They're going to basically they're going to follow the paperwork. They're going to fucking make sure you got all the contracts, whatever you may need. And it's just like, all you got to do is just sign up and pay your money for it.
And also like, a lot of these websites like the LegalZooms, Inc. Files of the world,
mm-hmm.
and Bailz will put that on the video.
Yeah, yes, I will.
But the LegalZooms and Inc. Files of the world, they really make sure that you don't fuck up. Like that's really their job. Like we order the LLC, but they do all the work as far as what Bailz was just talking about. But also they're like protecting you.
Yep.
Where like you don't file the wrong paperwork because you don't actually have to do that at all. You just pretty much fill out the information that you know, and then they sort the rest out for you.
You dead ass just putting in your debit card or your credit card information, and they're just doing everything else from that point. Like I just recently did it probably like in April with Ink File. I paid like $395 to have my LLC for 937 Entertainment, where all my business now is going through 937 Entertainment. And that's it.
I hate that when I did it through LegalZoom, and I didn't. Now, I will say LegalZoom is definitely ahead of the game as far as like all the stuff they offer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really not worth the expense.
Nah.
Like LegalZoom itself. Oh, but okay, something cool. Just a little side note. If you do sign up for an LLC and you do pay a LegalZoom or Inc. File, when tax season comes around, that's a write-off.
Yes, sir.
So you could actually write that off on your taxes, and it's perfectly fine. You paid that amount to get your business incorporated or whatever, and they are going to take that away from what they tax you on because that was the whole purpose.
Our show is all about being an independent artist, right? Part of being an independent artist is being able to do the business. Part of doing that business is having an LLC. It's not LLC Twitter where you're just trying to like start a trucking company. If you're an artist, you will want to have something to protect you it's called a limited liability company. So, you know, anytime you may do something within your music you're not really too sure of, they're not going to sue you. They're going to sue your business. It's not going to be something that's directly towards you, even though you started the business, but it's not directly you. And within that, tax write-offs, even for me, like I run advertisements all throughout the year for my music. Before I was doing it and I was just spending the money on advertisement, spending like $3,000, $5,000, and I wasn't getting nothing back from it. Now I have an LLC that I'm running the advertisement through. So now at this point, it's being tracked in my business on my business credit card. It's also being tracked within my business bank account. So now when it comes time for me to file my taxes towards the end of the year, I go to my tax man, my tax person, tax woman, whoever you want to be or go to. And at that point, it's tax deductible. So a lot of these things that we do as musicians, buying beats, buying cover arts, mixing services, anything you could think of under the sun. Even for me, like my music videos, I normally buy like a lot of costumes, all tax deductible. When I come over here to film the podcast, this is business related, tax deductible. I want my money back. Simple.
And you might sit and you might go, well, I can't run my business because I don't make any money and I need to have a job. Even better. You have a job. Okay. Your job pays you 30 grand a year. This we definitely talked about in here.
Yeah.
But your job pays you 30 grand a year. You spent $5,000 on your music career that year. The government taxed you on 30K, but they should have taxed you on 25K because you spent 5,000 of that money on your business. So what do? They go back and they give you back money that they taxed you on.
And by no means, we're not, tax people. So don't be like, oh yeah, Diggy and Bailz told us that we could just do all this shit.
No, but this is 100% a fact. Like,
yeah, it's a fact. But, people try to run with this shit.
No, I know, but I'm not going to ever tell you something that like I'm not aware of and you'll go and fuck yourself over. Like, this is a real thing. I mean, the state and the federal government, they tax you based on what your income is. And if you were using a big portion of your income
to fund your
business, they shouldn't have taxed you that amount.
Because you're running the shit at a loss at that point. And when you're starting your career, you're always going to be running at a loss. There's always going to be more money that you're going to be putting out more than it's going to be incoming. But 2-3 years later, when you're on your grind, you're releasing music, you're being smart with your marketing, you're advertising yourself properly, you're doing shows. 2 to 3 years, it starts becoming profitable and you're not even looking at it as being a loss. And it's like, as an independent musician myself, one of the best things I want to feel is like knowing that 2 or 3 years down the road, I actually built a business all on my own, did it all on my own as a musician, was able to get the tax write-off like everybody else is able to get. And it's mine. I own it. I turned something that was negative into positive all off of music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You said something, and I've had this in my notes for the podcast as a topic since we started it. And it's 3 to 5 years of failure in business and how that pertains to your music. I've had that written down and I've been wanting to talk about that. And I'm so happy that we landed on it. But like when you run a business, and it could be anything, it could be a landscaping business, it could be whatever, you're allowed 3 to 5 years of failing, of taking a loss. You're allowed that by the government. Your state is going to allow you to fail for 3 to 5 years. Now, after 3 to 5 years, they're going to ask you to close down your LLC because to them, if it's not working, there's no reason why you should keep on running it.
Yeah.
And also, we're not going to give you money on something that's failing because then at that point, it's like, why would you not just keep on failing and then just getting money, right?
Cut your losses.
Right. So they're going to advise you to close your business. Does that mean you can never open a business again? No. You could just get a different LLC with a new name and you can fucking do the same thing. But 3 to 5 years of failure and how that pertains to your business or how that pertains to your music, rather. You are expected by the government when you open an LLC to fail for the first 5 years. Only in music do people think that in the first 3 to 5 years of them being a fucking independent
artist, I got to make
it. That you have to make it. When in every other business, you're expected to fail for 3 to 5. Now apply that to yourself as an artist. And I'm not saying that I want you to fail. I'm not saying I even want it to take more than 5 years. I don't want it to take more than 5 months. But what I am saying is it's expected and it's okay. So when you're sitting there and you're going, damn, I've been rapping for fucking 3 years and nothing. It's like, well, you got another 2 before it's even considered a real fucking failure as a business. You know what I mean? And beyond that, you could have, like we said, you could just get a new LLC and fucking change your name at any point.
Exactly.
Like, the last episode we're talking about changing names and shit, but like you could do an entire rebrand and just try again. But in your music career, you're going to fail. And there's nothing wrong with that. And honestly, the people that never fail in life or the people that only win, they never learn a lesson. And the first time that they do lose or the first time they do fail, it feels like the world's caving in on them. Because when you don't know what failure is, or when you don't, it's like, I always say, I'm not scared of being broke. because I've been broke.
All been there.
Now, if I was a trust fund baby and I was raised rich and you lose everything, you have no idea what that
Different
space
feeling.
is. You have no idea. I've been broke. I've had no money in my account. I've overdrafted. So it doesn't scare me when I have $100 in my account.
Not at all.
I'm okay. You know what I mean? Now, why I'm saying all this is because there's a lot of people out there that are scared of failure. They're scared of transitioning into an actual business person, and that's, again, like, we constantly talk about music business on here because that's what you're doing. Like, we get it. You like rapping on beats. We get it. You have fun with your friends. There's so many people who are like, I don't even take this serious. I just do it for fun. That's why I don't care what you guys are saying.
This ain't for you.
Cool. But we're talking to the people who actually want to make money with this shit. And that's literally the basis of our whole podcast, is that we want people to make money off what they're doing. And a big key to that is getting an LLC. It's doing business like you're supposed to. You know, people aren't aware, but like, this is how every person that does business makes money.
Yes.
It's literally what they do. They get an LLC and they run their business. Some people run a business and then own another LLC just for the fuck of it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you shouldn't not be privy to this information because it's very important information. And honestly, this is how the rich stay rich.
Exactly. And it's like, I guess if you want to be an artist, perfectly fine. You just don't, you want everybody else to handle that. And once again, this isn't really for you. This is geared towards the people that really want to make it on their own and try to build this shit from the ground up and have everything be done in the proper way or in the best way you can. Because like, even for me, like when I first started getting paid for it, it's like probably like getting like $2 or $3 a month from streaming, if that. Now at this point, you know, since I got my LLC and I started marketing my music more, now I'm sitting probably getting like $50, $60 a month from music. And once again, that still doesn't seem like a lot to a lot of people, but it's like, compared to the amount of the vast majority of artists out there, nobody's really seeing those numbers. It's like, because I started doing things more in a business mindset. It wasn't more so just I want to be an artist anymore. I have to do business. You know, you guys probably see the podcast on YouTube. You see the 937 shirt that I'm constantly wearing. You even see Dig with the Mellow Wave shirts. It's all a Brandon, trying to get those things out there because at the end of the day, that's what's going to separate you from just a regular artist.
Also, check this out. Like, you might be confused as to, I'm sure everyone that's watching this has heard the word tax or the words tax write-off at some point of their life. But you might be wondering what actually falls under that category. And we're going to tell you. So like, all right, as a musician, I'm just assuming that you probably go out and you probably have purchased some sort of music equipment.
Yeah, that too.
You write that off, right? Even if it's a Focusrite Scarlett, $150 fucking interface, you write that shit off. Okay? If there's artists at your house and everyone's hungry, you put that shit on the business card because you're doing actual business with musicians, and that's a write-off. If you are transporting yourself to a place where you're going to conduct business as a musician, that's a write-off.
Shit, the internet you're using in your home studio, the lights you're using in the home studio, those are all things that, you know, if done properly, it's a tax write-off because you're using all these things for business. Shit, I even see people start using a like cell phone bill, like when they're, you know, taking like 20% of their cell phone bill and using it as a tax write-off.
So how everything is kind of like added up is it's not the full amount. Like,
exactly.
All right, say you have your studio at home, right? And you're doing business in one room of your house, they're going to take the square footage of your house, right? They take the square footage of your house. They see what percentage of your house that is, what percentage of the bill that is, and they basically deduct that amount. So that's your write-off. It wouldn't be the full amount. So if you're paying fucking $1,600 in rent, they're not going to go, oh, he pays $1,600 and he runs a home studio.
Yeah, it ain't gonna work like that.
No, but like you might get $400 a month that's tax deductible, you know? And these are all things that, again, people who actually are doing real business, they utilize these as tools and it helps them grow as business people. You should not be unaware because
you're a musician.
You're a business person, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
And you should be very aware of these things because they're very important to know. And so let's keep on going with tax write-offs. Bailz said beats before. Yeah, write-off.
Because if you think about it, you buying all these beats throughout the year, that shit adds up. You probably spend like, depending on if you've been getting exclusives, like we talked about before. If you're just doing leases, depending on how many songs you're dropping, that's upwards to like $500 to $1,000 in a year that you're spending on beats.
100%. Even if it's not, if it's 50, you're
It's still money that
write it
you're
off,
dishing
right.
out.
And you are deserving of that money back.
Yes.
It was taxed against you, and it wasn't supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're pulling one over. And I feel like that's what I thought when I first got my LLC. I was like, am I doing something wrong? Am I pulling something?
I'm scamming the government.
Am I pulling one over? And that's how they want people to think. And I'm not the guy. Bailz is more this guy, but I'm definitely not Mr. fucking, the government's after us.
I'm conspiracy theory guy.
Right. I'm not. But the government, it's in their best interest if they're taxing people to not tell people, hey, you deserve some of this money back.
Yeah, that's facts.
So they're not going to go advertising the fact that this is something that you are actually supposed to get back, right? They know that there are a bunch of musicians out there with no fucking LLC, and they're wasting all their money on their music, and they have not gotten that LLC, so they get none of that back. And they know that, and they're not going to ever tell you, hey, did you know that if you got an LLC, you would actually get some of this money back? They're never going to tell you that. No one wants to give you money.
Nope.
Right? But it's important for us to know that we are deserving of that money, and it's actually owed to us. So when you have an LLC, you're owed money. It's not something that the government is handing you as a gift. You're owed that money. They made a mistake. They taxed you wrong, and you are owed that money. So we have to approach the shit that we do as independent artists as business people who know what we're worth. We know what we're valued at. We understand where our money is supposed to be coming from. We understand where we spent too much money and we're owed money back. We have to know all these things because it's crucial to actually sustaining in this business. And
like you mentioned before, we mentioned on previous episodes before, if you wonder to yourself, how am I going to be able to fund this? You got to go get a job. Then I think that was episode 4. We talked about that.
That's why I said it's important to have a job because of being taxed by the state and by the federal. You're going to get money back based on the fact that you do have a job. Now, and that's why I was very clear that, like, we understand you're not going to drop your work to go run your rap business.
Yeah, we understand that.
We get that. Like, and honestly, in your first 3 to 5 years, you probably shouldn't.
Cause shit, we're sitting here doing the same thing right now. We're not quitting our day jobs to just run the fucking everything that we got going on. We got to still be able to fund it some way, somehow.
100%. You need money to come in from somewhere. And a lot of you guys aren't making money off music, and that's not a knock on you, but like a lot of artists don't make money on music. And these are ways that you can make money off music or get money back from the music that you're doing.
And speaking of write-offs, guess what? You want to have a website? BailzPagliacci.com is there. I paid probably $300 or so for that shit. Tax write-off. This is for my business. This is where I send people. This is where a lot of my engagement is going to happen. This is where my merch is going to be sold.
Right. Websites, merchandise.
Everything.
Merchandise. You want to buy shirts that have your logo on them? That's a write-off.
Write-off.
You want to take a trip to California to meet up with, we're from Jersey, so that makes sense. If you're from Cali, obviously it makes no sense. But if you want to take a trip from Jersey to California and you know that on the other side of that trip, you're meeting up with musicians to go to a studio, and that whole trip, write-off.
Write-off.
Again, not a scam. Like, nothing that we're talking about is a scam. This is all money that's owed back to you, and because you are conducting business.
And you're protecting yourself, and you're protecting your assets, you're protecting your investments. And, we spoke about this as well too. Like, you can literally go to a bank and under your IIC, if you have the good enough credit for
LLC.
Oh, God damn it. Guys, I gotta apologize. I work with children. I put them into therapy and we call them IIC. So I may mix it up sometimes, but it's LLC. So with the LLC, you can go to the bank, get you like a $10,000 loan and end up funding like a whole album. And, you can use that money for the album. You don't have to necessarily do that, but you can use $5,000 to make the album and then probably $5,000 to try to market it. Or just
because you want to hear something funny? That's what the label's doing.
Exactly. They're doing the same exact thing. Like
they're just giving you a loan. Now, let me break down the difference between a label loan and taking out a loan from a bank. If a label does not recoup, if they don't make their money back, they technically can't go and take all your shit. if a bank doesn't make their money back, they technically are allowed to go and take all your shit.
Mhm.
So that's the big difference. And that's why a label is almost less scary. But here's the problem with that. Like, that sounds like, oh, so a label is actually better than taking out a business loan. Not really, because if you take out a business loan, you don't pay back the bank, technically you could still make your own money.
Yep.
You're still capable, and you could even claim bankruptcy. This is fucking way far down the line if you're fucking
You just never know
failing.
where you're going to end up at.
But with a label, you'll never see a dime until they're paid back. So
no music, no nothing.
right, like there are artists that you see this on a constant basis where they go, I don't make $1 off my records. We tend to feel bad for them. I tend to look at both sides of it. Like, I like to think like an artist, but I also like to think like a label head, because I feel like both mentalities are crucial.
Mhm.
But you have to understand, if I invest $600,000 into you, and this is for your album, right?
Mhm.
And this investment was paid out and never made back, and your album only made $100,000. Now I'm 500,000 in the hole, right? And until I make that 500,000 back, you are not going to see a dime.
And honestly, in my mind, it's just like, even if you was to take the $600,000 deal from them, if you went and you only use, let's say, like 400,000 or 300,000 for the actual album, and then you once again spent the money on a bunch of other dumb shit because I'm a rapper, at that point, it's like, I don't even feel bad for you, because like, you chose to do that and you didn't understand the business, and you just wanted to just, oh, I got money now, let me just do that. And honestly, I'd rather do that on my own accord rather than do it under somebody else.
Right.
I'd rather be the person that's going to put myself in that type of hole, not have a label do it.
Yeah, and it's also like a lot of artists that go and they cop a new chain, or they cop a new car, or they
Mhm.
cop new clothing from Gucci and all these different places. In their eyes, they're making themselves marketable, so it's more like their excuse would be that it's for their public image.
Yeah.
That's why I invested that money into the clothing and all this stuff, because it's for my public image. It makes me more marketable. That would be their pitch to the label. But realistically, the money that they shell out to you is meant for the recording of your album.
Mhm.
It's not meant for whatever leisure you have in mind. You know, like, you're not supposed to go to the Gucci store and fucking buy a new shirt. You're not supposed to purchase a new chain. Like, these aren't things that money is meant for. But a lot of people get stuck because they use it on those things.
Yep.
And then they're just fucked because they'll never see $1 off their job. Like, imagine this. Imagine you did take that money, you invested it, and you don't recoup. So now your workplace, you are now working for free.
And that's the last thing I
Not
ever
for
wanna
free,
do.
even. You're working at a loss. You're
Exactly.
literally working and getting money, but you don't actually get to keep any of it. Like, that's the thing. Camera died.
Oh my gosh.
That's such a Rapper's Guide podcast thing,
You know,
though.
it always has to be something.
It's all good. That camera, I feel like, was on for way too long.
Yeah, because we was over here trying to brainstorm how to give you guys the best information. But you know, that's just how it usually goes.
It's all good. You guys got used to watching episodes early on of half of it being available, and then the rest of it just being a fucking purple logo. So
'Cause at the end of the day, even if the visual goes off, there's still always going to be gems that you can definitely grab. And it's just like, once again, the biggest thing to really understand is just like, stop being scared. It's okay to step outside of your comfort zone as just being an artist. It's okay to want to be a business person as well, because at the end of the day, everybody wants to complain when the label or somebody takes money or steals money from you, air quotes. And then you look at it like, yo, where's my money going? It's like, well, you chose to give up certain liberties being independent, and you chose to give it to someone else. You're going to have to pay for those things regardless.
beyond that, bro, you signed your name on the dotted line. Like,
Exactly.
Like, yo, at one point, me and Bailz was still fairly new to the music business idea.
Mhm.
He was more the artist guy, and a lot of his stances when he would hit me up were very much critical of the business side of it, because he felt like, you know, you felt like you were
As
on
the
the
artist,
attack.
I was being
as
taken
the
advantage
artist,
of.
you felt like you were on the attack, but I had to explain things to you in business terms, and in any situation. If you go to war, right?
Mhm.
The best way to win the war is to understand how the other people think.
Yep.
What are they going to do next? Why do they do this? Why do they act this way? Can I actually see why they're doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Once you understand that mentality, now you can win the war.
Yep.
But if you don't understand that mentality and all you're thinking is fuck them, I hate them, you're not going to win the war like that.
And ever since then, I've kind of looked at things differently. Even like when we discussed the thing when I tried to apply for A1, I was like, they're going to take 15%. And I was like, at first, 15% doesn't seem like much if I'm only making like $1,000 or so. But then I was like, after a while, if I'm hitting like 500,000, I will be hitting it. At that point, 15% looks like a little bit, it looks a little different for me as far as the money that I'm able to shell out. But I also have to understand if I am making that amount of money, AWOL most likely would have been helping me achieve that, where I probably couldn't have got it on my own. Not saying that I couldn't, but if I was able to go on with them and I was able to make that money in like a small amount of time compared to on my own, I can understand why the 15% is needed.
100%. I hate that the camera went off because I feel like a clip of what I'm gonna say next is something that would fucking be great on platforms. But when you think like a label and you think about it being your money, you could understand why it's not scummy shit. It's just business. Like, look, I started a record label at one point. I signed my first artist. We were in the process of working on his album, and weekend after weekend after weekend after weekend, I would have him come through and record on my dime. Free. When it came to, and in my contract, it was an 85-15 split. And in the contract, it said you are responsible for the mixing and mastering of this project. The cost of the mixing and mastering, as far as recording, you can record as much as you want for free
You
on
just
the
gotta
house.
pay for this one thing.
But for mixing and mastering, you are responsible for paying for mixing and mastering. Came time to mix and master, and we had a release date set, and the money was just unavailable for that person. They didn't have it. Okay. I paid for it, right? And not complaining, that's part of it. You understand, all right, cool, we still got to put the project
somebody gonna
out.
take a loss, I'm gonna have to be the one that's gonna put the money up.
I'm the label head. That's how
That's
that
what I'm
works,
supposed to do,
right?
yep.
I put the money up. I never saw that money again.
That's that loss.
I took the loss, but now I have to recoup somehow.
Yep.
So now what do you make off that? You're not making the 85 because the 85 that you'd be making now has to go back to the loss.
Yep.
So even if your deal is a certain percentage, until they see that money, you'll never see a percentage.
You ain't never seen it.
You won't see a
Goddamn
single
dime.
percentage point.
No.
And that's not the label being an asshole. That's literally how business works.
And what you signed your name on that line for.
But again, they're not wrong for that.
And nah, it's not wrong.
The label's not wrong for putting fucking $1 million. Now, maybe they were wrong in judgment, but they're not wrong for putting $1 million in someone's pocket and telling them, go make the greatest album possible. They take that money and fuck it off. They don't recoup. And now the label wants their $1 million back. They're not wrong for doing that.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm a person that's big on personal responsibility and just being accountable for what's going on in your life. So it's just like, once again, I understand that a lot of times artists get these deals and they're young, they don't understand the music business, they just want to live their dream. But it's just like, I can understand how people look at it like, oh, they're taking advantage of them. But at a certain point, you will have to kind of really understand the business, because once again, I understand like it's like somewhat of a maturity thing as well. When you're young, it's like, all right, I'm gonna sign a deal, because I had the same mindset. I'm gonna sign a deal. Life's gonna be great. I'm gonna be spending all this money on my friends, my family. Everything's gonna be fucking beautiful. And thank God I didn't get signed when I was that age, because now that I'm older and I'm seeing what the music business actually is, it's just like, yo,
that's not a thing.
It's fucking, that's crazy that my mind was, that I had that thought. And that's kind of what this podcast is about, like trying to get you out of that fucking thought, because it's not really what you think.
I think we've also said this on a previous episode. People view the music business and they view getting signed like they view being signed to an NBA team.
It doesn't work.
When you're guaranteed money, like you're getting signed and your signing bonus you get to keep, right? Everything after that signing bonus, everything that's meant for your business now or your album now, right? That's money that's owed back. Okay? It's not guaranteed money in your pocket. So everyone that gets money and goes, oh, I'm going to fucking, like, yo, these baseball players that are making $310 million over the next 10 years, like, that's their money. That is their fucking money. They don't owe any of that back. They're never going to have to turn around and pay the team back.
Recoup, recoupment when you're on a label.
There's
Recoupment.
no recouping when you're a MLB player or an NBA player. You just like you sign the dotted line and they owe you that money now.
You're an artist, recoupment.
But artists do not have that same situation. So everyone views the label like the league. Everyone views signing a record deal as if it's signing a fucking contract to play for the Brooklyn Nets.
And the only thing you're doing is signing away a bunch of years of misery, especially if you're not able to produce how you're able to produce. And then on top of that, you get into all the creative control shit and people telling you how you should do your album. And then there's a whole thing with that.
Okay, but I think that this is a good dynamic because I'm going to approach everything from the label side and I want you to approach it from the artist side.
But that sounds cool, actually.
All right. So what was the statement you just made?
Oh, the creative control of as far as like what should be put out.
All right, cool. If I invested this amount of money in you, right? And I have Excel spreadsheets worth of shit that works.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk into a session and I hear you making shit that does not work. There's history behind it. You could fucking look at what's happening and compare it to other shit. And I know for a fact the album that you just put together is not going to work and it's not going to make me my money back. Should I not tell you what you should be doing?
I can understand that part. But at the same time, that's also comes into play where a lot of times the labels just be shelving artists because they're just trying to, because as much as
a lot of artists give pushback though.
Yeah, but which once again is definitely understandable because once again it's your art, so you kind of feel that type of way that you have to push back on it.
Why this podcast is so crucial is because artists think like artists and they don't think like business people.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is you do a bunch of dumb shit as an artist because you're a creative and you're expressing yourself, but you never think about the business behind it. And why that's an issue is because sometimes that outrageous thought process that you have that makes you great as an artist could really fuck up your business.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's why it's a problem. And look, again, it's like when you agree with like a Republican, like I don't care what you are, Democrat,
politics,
Republican, but it's like when you agree with the opposite standpoint and people like demonize you for it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why the labels do the shit that the labels do. Because when you understand the business side of it, you know why they do what they do. And again, like it's not a scary thing because it's just how fucking business works.
Yes. So like even like we know that they go around, they sign a bunch of acts and most of those acts never come out. It's like, and if you know that information, it's kind of telling you, oh, maybe I shouldn't have signed this deal. But
I want to
people
protect,
still do it.
But as the label, I want to protect my investment.
Mm-hmm.
If I see them making a mistake because they're this creative artist, I understand why they're doing it because they're a kid most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know business. But like, all right, cool. This song right here, we're going to put this singer on. Oh, I don't want her on. I don't like her. Yeah, but here's her streaming numbers.
This was going to work. This was going to make sure you
if we
get
put
your
her
recruitment
on
back.
this, if we put her on this, we're guaranteed this amount. This is what she does. I don't like her music. Okay, so you're just not gonna do that. No, I'm not gonna do that. All right, cool. Let's find another artist who will work with her, and let's work with them, and let's see if they actually do what we're asking. And if they do what we're asking, and they blow up, and that person got shelved, okay.
And that's what also comes to like when we talked about not everybody in the industry is so buddy as much as you think they are when collaborations and shit. It's like there's more suits behind those collaborations than you guys really think. Not everybody's
100%.
out here fucking with each other.
Yeah, no, these people aren't friends, bro. There's business behind it.
Exactly.
Like this is money. And in the era of data, it's more data driven than anything. You know what I mean? There's this beat that sounds like this. We know fucking the baby will hop on it if we pay him this amount. And we know that it'll probably make we can't guarantee, but with our projections, it'll do fucking 100 million streams based on our projections that we have. These are label conversations. It's not, oh, the music just feels so good that we had to put it out.
It's a like, fucking industry. It's a machine.
I'm going to grab this fucking artist over here. I'm going to put him together with this artist on this song with this beat by this producer. And it's guaranteed to do this amount
and we're gonna make some money.
Estimated to do this amount. And when it does that amount, we make X amount of dollars. And you need people like that in the industry, not because it definitely kills the creative part of the industry, but
keeps money in their pockets.
But also, who the fuck knows what songs were made because of why?
Yeah, it's not
Like
as
we all talk
natural.
about how the labels kill the creative side, but like
We don't talk about who they be pairing up together and be
no, but
making the
also
biggest
like
hits.
right, like do you know for 100% fact that Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars fuck with each other?
They naturally just came together.
Do you know that they actually like each other, or do you think that the labels put them together because they're both cash cows and they knew that they could make $1 billion together and then sent them on a press run and had them doing interviews together because they're label investments?
The best part about it, we would never fucking know until 10, 15 years later when they start really talking about this shit.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, yo, we act like they're killing the creativity and they fuck up the music but like, what's the song called? I'm gonna keep the door open.
Yeah, door open. Yeah,
it's a fucking great song.
Amazing song. I was listening to it before I even came here. Honestly,
if the label was responsible for that song, I'm not mad at the label.
I'm not mad at the label at all. Nope.
We will never know if they're responsible for that song. Now, you'd like to think as an artist, oh no, bro, they just saw each other at a studio one day and they fucking hit it off.
Nah.
That might not have happened, and you'll never know. And that's why, like, your anger at the label is a lot of the time misguided.
Yeah, like I said, you can't be mad at them if you want to be the one that want to sign to them. And you can't be mad with the shit that they do if you are one that want to sign up for it.
You also cannot be mad if you want to be a fucking millionaire artist because all the millionaire artists do this shit.
Do the same thing you're going to want to do.
There's very few that don't do what the label asks of them. Drake is signed to fucking 8 different labels.
You signed to one nigga, signed to another. Bars.
Facts, though.
Facts.
And he's the biggest.
Yeah.
Want to know why? Because he does what the label asks.
He's still getting paid.
Yo, we need a hit.
Yep.
We need a hit. We need this singer on this.
He even said this shit one of his songs. He said, I don't want to talk to nobody at the label. I just drop a song off and that's it. And they just let them know, all right, here's the song.
Because he's built so much trust with the labels that they just believe him now. But these artists haven't built that trust.
Mm-hmm.
They might have one album that gained some internet success, but they haven't built over 10 years of trust that like every time you drop an album, it's going to recoup.
Yeah.
So if Drake asks for $1 billion, they're giving it to him.
That's facts.
Because he's proven time after time that he's always going to recoup. So like money is not an issue for a Drake.
Yeah, you want Celine Dion samples? Go ahead, take it. Who cares,
But
man? You got to make this money back.
Exactly. But money is an issue for an artist who's unproven, who built some success online, but they haven't proven. Building success online is not proving that you make money.
Yep. It just means you could gather a following, but will that following spend them dollars? That's what it really comes down to.
If I see that Bailz is doing $150K on every song, that doesn't mean Bailz is sitting at home counting money.
Definitely not.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, yo, they're signing you based on the fact that you are obviously streamable. People are looking for you, right? But they don't know for a fact that the second that you drop music that people are going to purchase it.
Yep, that's true.
So like, you can't always be mad at the label. You sometimes have to understand how they process. And again, when you know how the other side is thinking and you know why they're acting the way they act, it's easier to win the war.
And full circle is like to go back to the LLC shit. It's like, pick your poison. What do you want to do? You want to do it on your own, or you want to go the route where you're trying to sign a label, compete with everybody? Or do you want to just compete with everybody and try to build it on your own? Like, you really got to pick your poison. If you're going to choose either side, you got to know both sides of the game. You got to know both the pros, both the cons. At the end of the day, you're going to make your decision. It's all about personal responsibility. You know, whatever you want to do is what you're going to do. Whatever you want to manifest is what you're going to manifest. But just know, you got to know the business on either side of it. And I think that's kind of like what it comes down to at the end of the day.
I hope a lot of people listen to this episode and weren't hating the idea of understanding the label. And I hope a lot of people listen to this episode and they go, oh shit, that makes total sense.
Exactly.
I just, because like, I'll tell you what I hate about the label. I hate that they take advantage of kids.
Yeah.
Right? But I understand why they do it.
You always have to understand your enemy. That's what they always say.
I understand, right? Like, I understand why they do the things they do, because not understanding them would mean that I'm in the fucking dark with shit, and I don't
sign it anyway.
Right. So I understand why they do the shit they do. I understand why I wouldn't sign a deal until I was at a certain point where I even felt like I might make some money out of this.
Cause shit, you technically signed the deal yourself. They kind of caught you when you were at your
It's a
younger age,
mistake.
and now that you fucking old, you're like, yo, these motherfuckers.
And you'll
but then he's
never-
like, oh shit.
But you will never ever hear me say that the deal that I signed when I was 18 years old was me being smart.
Yeah, no, I completely
You'll
understand
never
that.
hear that come out of me. Like you'll never hear me say like, yeah, I signed a deal. It was the best thing I ever did. Like it was
Kid
dumb.
chasing their aspirations. You get this time to follow your dreams. Why the fuck wouldn't I sign my fucking name on that dot?
Right. And it was a bullshit deal at that. You know what I
But
mean?
it's like, why the fuck wouldn't I? No matter what,
Right.
why the fuck wouldn't I sign my name on that dot?
When you're being promised certain things, you just think it's real. You know what I mean? And that's why I know that a lot of the people that listen to this podcast and watch this podcast are younger and they take things at face value. But this podcast is supposed to make you dig deeper.
Mhm.
It's supposed to make you understand what's going on behind closed doors. And it's supposed to really bring you in so that you're not so fucking in the dark when it comes to shit that you should actually know.
Because they are snakes out there.
100%. But there's also just regular business being processed that you should just be privy to.
Also true.
All right, guys, this is Rappers Guide Podcast. We're signing out. This is Diggy Metro.
Bailz Pagliacci.
Peace out, guys.